please make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to become a loyal subscriber. So, let's get started. Have you ever felt a cool breeze pass by, even on a hot summer day? Or felt like someone was watching you from a dark corner when no one was around? Maybe you've felt the unsettling sensation of being touched by something unseen. Now imagine living in a house where this is part of everyday life for the residents. Today's story is one of the most terrifying we've ever covered on this channel. So put your headphones on and get ready for one of the most haunting tales in the world, Sally's house. This house is undoubtedly one of the most haunted places in North America, ranking among the top 10 most haunted houses in the world. A family moved into the house in the 1990s, and for 2 years, they experienced things beyond belief, things unimaginable to the average person. When Tony and Deborah first moved into the house, everything seemed fine. Nothing unusual happened at first. But slowly they began experiencing strange phenomena they didn't even notice at first. For instance, when they were watching TV in the living room, the ceiling fan's light would suddenly turn on, and the chain that adjusts the fan speed would start moving by itself. In other parts of the house, lights would flicker, and electrical appliances would turn off on their own. Tony and Deborah called the landlord and had the wiring checked multiple times, but nothing was ever wrong. The real problem, however, lay elsewhere. Their baby, who slept in the nursery, would cry and wake up constantly throughout the night. The couple would go to comfort him and put him back to sleep, but as soon as they left the room, he would get scared again. This went on for several days. Then Deborah's sister came to stay, and she was particularly fond of the baby. Interestingly, when she took the baby to sleep with her, he remained calm all night. One day, Tony, Deborah, and Deborah's sister came home from an event, and Tony went upstairs as he passed by the nursery. He noticed the light was on. This was strange because he had turned off all the lights before they left. In the center of the nursery, he found 3 of his son's toys on the floor, arranged in a circle facing each other. Tony picked up the toys, put them back, and turned off the light before heading downstairs. A little while later, the 3 of them went upstairs for some reason, and to their surprise, the nursery light was on again, and the 3 toys were once again on the floor in the same arrangement. Deborah's sister picked up the toys, turned off the light, and went back downstairs. Then, while they were in the living room, they heard the light switch being flipped upstairs, rushing back to the nursery. They found the toes in the same circle and the light on again. This time, they all decided to sleep in the same room with the baby, while their dog stood at the door, barking into the dark nursery as if it could see something they couldn't. A major incident occurred soon after. Every night, Tony heard the sound of footsteps running up and down the stairs. At first, he thought it was the cats, but one night the footsteps grew louder and more frantic. When Tony stepped out to investigate, he saw nothing on the stairs. Then, suddenly, he felt something rushing up towards him from the ground floor. When the sound reached him, he felt a cold breeze on his face and heard the faint sound of children laughing. Another time, Tony and Deborah were sitting in the living room, and Tony dozed off on the couch. He suddenly woke up, shouted, "He's mine," and fell back asleep. Deborah was shocked because Tony didn't remember anything. One morning, they woke up to find all the pictures in the living room turned upside down, and the frames cracked. There was also a candle in the room that looked like it had been grabbed by something incredibly hot, as the wax had melted. But the wick wasn't burned. When they examined the candle closely, they saw small handprints, as if a child had touched it. At this point, a famous paranormal TV show called Sighting reached out to Tony and Deborah. When the sighting team first arrived at Sally's house, they immediately realized that the paranormal activity was intense. The team returned several times to investigate, but Tony refused to show his face on camera because he didn't want people to know this was happening to him. Occasionally, things would catch fire in the house. A bowl of fire would appear in one corner and disappear on its own. During a party at the house, a toy appeared on the staircase, burning from the inside, yet nothing else around it was damaged. Everyone at the party witnessed it. Once the window frame in the nursery caught fire, but the wooden walls around it remained untouched. The team later determined that the entity in the house was named Sally. This entity seemed to want acceptance, particularly from Deborah, and wanted to protect the couple's daughter. Deborah, surprisingly, felt comfortable with Sally and would talk to her. Tony, on the other hand, was never at ease, as he believed Sally was causing harm to the house. One day, Tony told Deborah, "She bit me." This was the first physical contact Sally made. Tony had visible bite marks on his leg, and it wasn't the last time the entity physically interacted with him. From then on, Tony would wake up with scratch marks all over his body, no matter where he was in the house. No one had actually seen Sally until one morning when Tony went to the kitchen for juice and saw a young girl standing by the basement door. She was dressed in old-fashioned clothes from the previous century. Tony realized something was off when he noticed he could see through her body. He ran to Deborah and later sketched the exact girl he saw. To this day, it's believed that Sally looked like that sketch. The name Sally came from the house's previous owners, whose child had an imaginary friend named Sally. Investigators believe that the entity often took on innocent forms, sometimes appearing as Deborah or their child. There's so much more to this story. If you want to hear more about the terrifying events at Sally's house, let me know in the comments below. I'll bring you more shocking facts in the next video. If this video reaches 10 likes, which isn't too much to ask, I'll make sure to cover even more chilling details. So keep watching, subscribing, and sharing Dark Spoken.